I'm the kid you saved 10 years ago. The wrench slipped from Cole Brannon's hand and cracked against the concrete. He stared at the girl in his doorway. Blonde hair, blue eyes, 11 years old. And the night he'd buried for a decade exploded back through him. A rainy alley, a woman screaming, a baby he carried through the dark. That baby was standing here now, shaking, alone, with a dead mother's diary in her backpack, and a dangerous father she'd never met, hunting for her. Cole grabbed the workbench to steady himself. His knuckles went white. His past had just walked through the door, and it needed him to survive. Before we continue, subscribe, follow this story to the very end, and comment your city so I can see how far this journey reaches. I'm the kid you saved 10 years ago. The wrench slipped from Cole Brannon's hand and hit the concrete like a gunshot. He stared at the girl in his doorway. Blonde hair, blue eyes, 11 years old, shaking but refusing to look away. His mind exploded backward. A rainy alley, a woman screaming, a baby he carried through the dark and never saw again. Now that baby was standing in a Hells Angels garage, and the words she said next brought a grown man to his knees. My mom is dead, and the man she was hiding me from just got out of prison. Cole's past had finally come to collect. Before we go further, subscribe, follow this story to the very end, and drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this journey reaches. Cole Brannon heard the footsteps before he saw the girl. Not the usual footsteps. Not the heavy boots of a customer or the shuffling drag of old Jimmy from the pawn shop next door. These were light, careful, the kind of footsteps that belonged to someone who wasn't sure they should be walking in that direction at all. He didn't look up right away. 23 years of riding with the Hells Angels had taught him something most people never learned. You don't react until you know what you're reacting to. So he kept his hands on the carburetor, kept his eyes on the work, and waited. The footsteps stopped. Cole wiped his hands slow on the rag tucked into his belt. He could feel whoever it was standing there, watching him. The air in the garage shifted, the way it always did when a stranger walked in, like the room itself was holding its breath. He turned around. A girl. Blonde hair pulled back in a loose braid that was coming undone on one side. Blue eyes so pale they almost looked silver in the afternoon light that cut through the garage door. She was skinny, not the kind of skinny that comes from being athletic, but the kind that comes from not eating enough. Her denim jacket had been washed so many times, the color had faded to almost white at the elbows. And her sneakers had a hole near the left toe that she'd tried to cover with a piece of duct tape. She was holding the straps of her backpack with both hands, knuckles white, jaw set, chin up. Cole had seen that look before. On men twice her size, walking into situations they knew might kill them. It was the look of someone who had already decided they were going through with something, no matter what happened next. We're closed, Cole said. The girl didn't move. I said we're closed, kid. I know, she said. Her voice was quiet, but it didn't shake. I'm not here for a motorcycle. Cole crossed his arms. He was a big man, 6'2", 220, with shoulders that filled a doorframe, and blonde hair gone gray at the temples that he kept pulled back in a short ponytail. His arms were sleeved in old ink, most of it faded, some of it covering scars he didn't talk about. He knew what he looked like to a kid her age. He knew the effect his presence had on people. But this girl didn't flinch. Then what are you here for? He asked. She took one step forward, then another. Her sneakers left faint prints on the dusty concrete. She stopped about 10 feet from him, close enough that he could see a small scar on her chin and the dark circles under her eyes that no 11-year-old should have. I'm the kid you saved 10 years ago, she said. Cole's hand, which had been reaching for the rag again out of habit, froze in midair. The words didn't make sense at first. They bounced around inside his skull like a ball in an empty room, hitting walls, finding no place to land. He stared at her, waiting for the punchline, waiting for someone to step out from behind a car and tell him this was some kind of joke. Nobody stepped out. "What did you say?" His voice came out wrong, too rough, too low, like something had gotten stuck in his throat.
10 years ago, the girl repeated. You saved me and my mom, in the alley behind the old freight yard on Garfield Street. It was raining. She was carrying me. You stopped those men from hurting us.
Cole grabbed the edge of his workbench. He needed something solid under his hands because the floor had just tilted sideways, and he wasn't sure his legs were going to hold. The freight yard. Garfield Street. Rain. It hit him all at once, not like a memory, but like a fist. The alley, the screaming, a woman with soaked blonde hair clutching a bundle against her chest, running barefoot on broken asphalt. Two men behind her, gaining fast. And Cole, 23 and stupid and full of whiskey, stepping out of the shadows because something in him, something deeper than the leather and the patches and the reputation, couldn't let it happen. He'd fought them, both of them, took a knife across his ribs for it, a scar he still carried. The woman had crouched behind a dumpster the whole time, shielding her baby with her body, making sounds that weren't quite screaming and weren't quite praying, but somewhere in between. When it was over, he'd helped her up. She was shaking so hard she could barely stand. He'd walked her to a gas station 3 blocks away, given her $40, all the cash he had, and told her to call someone she trusted. She'd grabbed his hand before he left, looked him in the eyes, said, "Thank you. I'll never forget this. Never." He'd pulled his hand away and walked back into the dark. That was the last time he saw her. Until now. Until this girl with the same blonde hair and the same blue eyes stood in his garage and ripped the lid off a box he'd nailed shut a decade ago. "That's not possible," Cole said. The words came out barely above a whisper. "You were a baby." "I was 7 months old," the girl said. "My mom told me. She told me everything." "Your mom?" Cole's mouth went dry.
Jenna, the girl's eyes widened. You remember her name?
He remembered more than her name. He remembered the way her hands wouldn't stop shaking, the way she kept whispering, "Thank you, thank you, thank you," like it was the only phrase she knew. The way she'd looked back at him one last time before disappearing into the fluorescent light of the gas station, her baby pressed against her heart. "Yeah," Cole said. "I remember her. My name is Lily," the girl said. "Lily Hollis." Cole stared at her. His mind was doing math it didn't want to do. 7 months old. 10 years ago. That made her 11. 11 years old, standing alone in a biker's garage on the wrong side of Louisville, with nothing but a backpack and a name. "Where's your mom, Lily?" The question landed like a stone in still water. Lily's chin stayed up, but something behind her eyes cracked. Just a little. Just enough for Cole to see it. "She died," Lily said. 3 months ago. Cancer." The word sat between them like a living thing. Cole felt it in his chest, a pressure, a heat, something that didn't have a name but hurt all the same. Jenna. The woman he'd saved. The woman whose face he'd carried in the back of his mind for 10 years as proof that he'd done at least one good thing in his miserable life. Gone. "I'm sorry," he said. And he meant it in a way he hadn't meant anything in a long time. Lily nodded once, quick, like she'd practiced accepting condolences and had gotten efficient at it. "After she died, they put me in foster care. I've been in 3 homes since then." 3 homes in 3 months? The first family said I was too quiet. The second one had too many kids already. The third one—" She stopped. Her jaw tightened. "The third one wasn't good." Cole didn't ask what that meant. He didn't need to. He'd grown up in the system himself for 2 years after his old man went to prison. He knew exactly what "wasn't good" could mean. "So you came here," he said. "How? How did you even find me?" Lily swung her backpack off her shoulder and unzipped it. She pulled out a worn leather diary, its cover soft and creased from years of handling. She held it out to him. "Mom kept this. She wrote about you, about that night, about your garage, about the street name. She kept newspaper clippings too. One of them had a photo of you outside this building." Cole took the diary. His hands were shaking, which made him angry at himself because Cole Brannon's hands did not shake. He'd held those hands steady through bar fights, through police raids, through a knife fight in a Tucson parking lot that should have killed him. But holding this dead woman's diary, feeling the ghost of her fingers in the leather, that did what none of those things could. He opened it. The handwriting was small and careful, blue ink on lined paper. He didn't read the words. Couldn't, not with Lily watching. But he saw his name on one of the pages, and something inside him turned over. He closed the diary and handed it back. "Lily, listen to me." He made his voice hard, the way he'd made it hard 1,000 times before when he needed to push someone away. "I don't know what your mom told you about me, but I'm not the guy you think I am. I fixed motorcycles, and I made a lot of bad choices. That night in the alley, that was just—" "She said you were the only person who ever helped us without wanting something back," Lily said. Cole closed his mouth. "She said it every year on my birthday. She'd tell me the story and she'd say, 'There are good people in this world, Lily. I know because one of them saved us.' Kid, I don't have anywhere else to go." The words were simple. No drama, no begging, no tears. Just a fact, delivered with the kind of calm that only comes from someone who has already hit bottom and found out the ground doesn't care if you cry on it. Cole turned away from her. He gripped the edge of the workbench and stared at the wall, at the old poster of a 1972 shovelhead that had been hanging there since he opened the shop. His jaw worked back and forth. His mind screamed at him. "Don't do this. Don't get involved. You'll only make it worse. You always make it worse." But behind him, he could hear Lily breathing. Quiet, steady breaths from a kid who had walked into a Hell's Angels garage alone because she had nowhere else in the world to turn. "Does anyone know you're here?" he asked, without turning around. "My foster parents think I'm at the library." "What time do you have to be back?" 6. Cole looked at the clock. It was 4:15. He walked to the mini-fridge in the corner, pulled out a Coke, and held it out to her. "Here." Lily looked at the can, then at him. "It's just a Coke," he said. She took it. Her small fingers brushed against his calloused ones, and the contact sent something through him that he couldn't name and didn't want to examine. She popped the tab and took a sip, watching him over the rim of the can with those pale blue eyes that saw too much. "Your mom," Cole said slowly, lowering himself onto an overturned milk crate. "She was brave. Braver than anybody I ever rode with. And I rode with some hard men." Lily sat down on the stool by the workbench, her feet not quite touching the floor. "She said the same thing about you." She was wrong. She was never wrong about people. Lily's voice cracked for the first time, just barely, like a hairline fracture in glass. She caught it fast, pressed her lips together, took another sip of Coke. "She was wrong about one person, my father, but she was never wrong about anyone else." Cole felt the air change when she said the word father. Something dark moved through the room, something cold, and Lily's hand tightened on the Coke can until the aluminum dented under her grip. He filed that away. Whatever was behind that word, it was big, but now wasn't the time. "Look," he said, "I need to get you back to your foster home before they—" "Please don't send me back there." "Lily, I'll sleep on the floor. I'll sleep outside. I don't care. Just, please, one night." Cole looked at her, really looked at her. Past the brave face, past the set jaw, past the eyes that were working so hard not to cry. He saw a kid who had been carrying the weight of the world on shoulders that weren't wide enough for it. And he saw something else, too. Something he recognized because he'd seen it in his own mirror for 30 years. He saw someone who had decided that being alone was just how life worked, and was trying to make peace with it, even though it was killing them slowly from the inside out. "One night," he said. "I've got a cot in the back. It's not comfortable, but it's clean." Lily's whole body softened. Not a lot, she was too guarded for that, but enough. The death grip on her backpack loosened. Her shoulders dropped half an inch. And for just a second, she looked like what she was. A scared 11-year-old girl who needed someone to tell her it was going to be okay. "Thank you," she whispered. Cole stood up and walked toward the storage room, his boots heavy on the concrete. "Don't thank me yet, kid. I snore loud enough to wake the dead. And the bathroom's through that door on the left. Towels are in the cabinet." He pulled out the cot, unfolded it, tested the frame. It creaked, but held. He found a clean blanket and a pillow that wasn't too flat, and he laid them out with a care that surprised him, smoothing the wrinkles, tucking the edges, like it mattered, like someone was going to inspect it. When he turned around, Lily was standing in the doorway of the storage room, watching him with an expression he couldn't read. "What?" he said. "Nothing." She paused. "It's just... My mom said you pretended to be mean, but you weren't really." Cole grunted. "Your mom talked too much." Lily almost smiled. Almost. He left her to settle in and went back to the workbench. Picked up his wrench. Tried to focus on the carburetor he'd been rebuilding. But his hands wouldn't cooperate. They kept stopping, hovering over the parts, while his mind ran loops around the same impossible fact. Jenna was dead. The woman he'd saved was gone, and her daughter, the baby from the alley, was sleeping on a cot 10 feet away, trusting a man she'd never met with her life because her mother had told her he was worth trusting. He wasn't sure that was true. Wasn't sure he'd ever been worth trusting. But the kid was here, and she had nowhere else to go. And for the first time in years, Cole Brannon felt something that scared him more than any knife fight ever had. He felt responsible. The night passed slow. Cole didn't sleep. He sat in his office with the door cracked open, listening to the sounds of the garage, the tick of cooling metal, the hum of the old refrigerator, the occasional car passing outside. And underneath all of it, the quiet, steady breathing of a child. Around midnight, he heard her stir. A small sound, not quite a cry, not quite a word. He got up and walked to the doorway. Lily was curled on her side, her knees pulled to her chest, her face tight, even in sleep. She was dreaming, and whatever the dream was, it wasn't kind. Cole stood there for a long time, watching her. His hands hung at his sides, useless. He didn't know how to comfort a sleeping child. Didn't know the first thing about it. His own father's idea of comfort had been a bottle and a backhand, and Cole had spent most of his adult life making sure he never got close enough to anyone to find out whether he'd inherited that particular talent. Lily's face relaxed. The dream passed. Her breathing evened out. Cole went back to his office, sat down in his chair, and stared at the wall until morning. When the first gray light came through the windows, he heard her get up. heard the cot creak, heard her footsteps pad across the concrete, heard the bathroom door open and close. A few minutes later, she appeared in the garage, her hair rebraided, her face washed, her backpack on her shoulder like she was ready to leave. "Morning," she said. Cole was already at the workbench, a cup of coffee in his hand that he'd been nursing for an hour. "Morning." She stood there, uncertain. The bravery from yesterday was still there, but it was thinner now, worn down by a night of bad dreams in a strange place. She looked at the garage door, then back at him. "I should probably go," she said, but she didn't move. Cole took a long sip of coffee, set the mug down, looked at her. "You eat breakfast?" Lily blinked. "What?" "Breakfast. The meal that comes in the morning. You eat it?" Sometimes." "There's a diner 2 blocks east. Makes decent eggs. You hungry?" Lily's eyes searched his face, looking for the catch. "You don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I asked if you were hungry." A pause. Then, very quietly, "Yeah, I'm hungry." "Then let's go." They walked side by side through the early morning streets. Cole shortened his stride to match hers without thinking about it, and Lily stayed close, not touching him, but close enough that he could hear the soft rhythm of her breathing. At the diner, they slid into a booth. Cole ordered eggs and toast. Lily ordered pancakes. When the food came, she ate like she hadn't had a real meal in days. Fast at first, then slowing down when she realized nobody was going to take the plate away. Cole watched her over his coffee and felt something crack open inside his chest. Something he'd sealed shut years ago, cemented over and reinforced with bad decisions and cheap whiskey and the unshakable belief that he wasn't built for this kind of thing. But here was this kid, Jenna's kid, eating pancakes across from him like it was the most normal thing in the world. And for reasons he couldn't explain and didn't want to fight anymore, it felt right. "Lily," he said. She looked up, a smear of syrup on her chin. "How bad is the foster home?" Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. She set it down carefully, the way someone sets down something fragile. "Bad enough that I walked 6 miles to find a stranger." Cole nodded slowly. "Okay." "Okay what?" "Okay, we're going to figure this out." Lily stared at him. "What do you mean?" "I mean you're not going back to bad enough. Not today. We'll work something out. I don't know what yet, and I'm not making promises I can't keep. But you're not going back there." For the first time since she'd walked into his garage, Lily's composure broke. Her eyes filled up, and she pressed her hand against her mouth, trying to hold it together. A single tear slid down her cheek and landed on the table between them. "Hey," Cole said, his voice gentler than he'd heard it in years. "None of that. Eat your pancakes." Lily laughed, a wet, broken sound that was halfway between joy and grief, and picked up her fork. They finished breakfast in a silence that didn't need filling, and when they walked back to the garage, Lily's steps were a little lighter, and Cole's shoulders carried a weight he hadn't asked for, but was beginning to understand he'd been meant to carry all along. He didn't know it yet, but in the back of Lily's worn backpack, tucked between a change of clothes and a photo of her mother, was a letter. A letter Jenna had written 10 years ago. A letter that contained a name Cole didn't know yet. A name that would change everything. A name that would bring war to his doorstep. But that was still coming. For now, there was just a man and a girl, walking through the morning light, beginning something that neither of them had the words for yet. Cole held the garage door open for her. Lily walked through, and the door swung shut behind them both. One night became 2. 2 became 3, and on the 4th morning, Cole stopped pretending he was going to send her back. He didn't say it out loud, didn't make some big declaration. He just woke up, made 2 cups of coffee instead of 1. Hers was mostly milk and sugar, which she insisted was still coffee. And when Lily appeared in the garage with her hair half braided and sleep still in her eyes, he handed her the mug and said, "We're working on the Sportster today. You're going to learn what a timing belt does." Lily took the mug with both hands and looked at him over the rim. "Does this mean I can stay?" "It means you're learning about timing belts. Don't push it." But she smiled, and he turned away before she could see that he almost did too. The routine built itself without either of them planning it. Lily woke up early, earlier than Cole expected for a kid her age, and was always in the garage before he finished his first cup. She'd pull the old wooden stool up to whatever bike he was working on and watch with an intensity that reminded him of the guys he'd ridden with, the ones who took machines seriously, who understood that an engine was more than metal and fuel. It was a language, and Lily was learning to speak it. "Why is this bolt different from the others?" she asked on the second day, pointing to a chrome fitting on the Sportster's engine block. "Because it holds the intake manifold. Different job, different bolt. Everything on a bike has a purpose. Nothing's random." "Like people?" Cole looked at her. "What?" "Mom used to say that. Nothing about people is random. Everyone's got a purpose, even if they can't see it yet." Cole didn't have an answer for that. He just handed her a wrench and said, "Here, tighten that bolt. Quarter turn. No more." She gripped the wrench the way he'd shown her, firm, steady, controlled. Her tongue poked out the corner of her mouth as she concentrated. The bolt turned. She looked up at him, waiting. "Good," he said. Her whole face changed. It was like watching a light come on in a room that had been dark for a long time. Such a small word, good, but it hit her like nobody had said it to her in months, maybe longer. Cole turned back to the engine because something in his chest was doing things he wasn't ready to deal with. By the end of the first week, Lily could name every tool on the pegboard, identify the major components of a V-twin engine, and change a spark plug without help. She kept a notebook, a cheap spiral-bound thing she'd found in the office, where she wrote down everything Cole taught her, adding little sketches in the margins that were better than they had any right to be. Detailed drawings of carburetors and camshafts, labeled neatly in her careful handwriting. "You draw these from memory?" Cole asked, flipping through the pages one evening. "Yeah. Is that weird?" "No, that's a gift." He handed the notebook back. "Your mom draw?" Lily's expression softened, the way it always did when Jenna came up. "She used to sketch flowers. She'd sit on the porch and draw whatever was blooming. She said it helped her think." A pause. "She drew you once." Cole's hand stopped mid-reach for his coffee. "What?" "In her diary. There's a sketch of a man with long hair and a leather jacket. She wrote your name underneath it." Lily pulled the diary from her backpack. She carried it everywhere, like a talisman, and flipped to a page near the back. She held it up. Cole stared at it. The drawing was rough, but recognizable. A younger version of himself, 23, with hair past his shoulders and a jawline that hadn't yet been softened by age. Jenna had drawn him from memory, and she'd gotten it right. The set of his shoulders, the way he stood with his weight on one leg, even the scar on his left hand that she must have noticed in the few minutes they'd spent together. Beneath the sketch, in Jenna's handwriting, "Cole Brannan, the man who saved us. Don't ever forget." Cole's throat closed. He handed the diary back without a word and busied himself with the engine. But his hands were shaking, and Lily noticed. She always noticed. She just had the grace not to say anything. On the 8th night, Cole couldn't sleep. This wasn't unusual. He hadn't slept well in years. But tonight was different. Tonight, the weight of what he was doing pressed down on him like a physical thing. He had someone else's child sleeping in his garage. No legal authority. no foster license, no plan beyond tomorrow. If the state found out, they'd take her. If her foster family reported her missing, the police would come looking. And Cole Brannon's name in a police report next to a missing 11-year-old girl was a combination that would end one way. He sat in his office, staring at the wall, running the math. The responsible thing was to call social services, explain the situation. Let them place her somewhere safe, somewhere legal, somewhere with people who knew how to raise a kid. He picked up his phone, put it down, picked it up again. Then he heard it. A small sound from the garage. Not a cry exactly. More like a whimper. The kind a person makes when they're trying to be brave in a dream that won't let them. Cole walked to the doorway. Lily was curled on the cot, her knees pulled tight to her chest, her fists clenched against her chin. Her lips were moving, but no words came out. Whatever she was seeing behind her closed eyes, it was hurting her. He stood there for a long time, watching. His phone was still in his hand. He looked at it, looked at her. He put the phone in his pocket. The next morning, he started fixing up the apartment above the garage. Not for any particular reason, he told himself. Just maintenance. The place needed work anyway. He patched a hole in the wall, replaced the lock on the door, cleared out the junk that had been piling up for years. He found an old bed frame in the storage unit down the street and hauled it upstairs. Found a mattress at the second-hand store that wasn't too bad. Sheets from the dollar store. A pillow that was actually soft. "What are you doing up there?" Lily called from the bottom of the stairs. "Nothing." She came up anyway, stood in the doorway of the small room he'd been working on, and looked at the bed, the clean floor, the window he'd washed for the first time since he'd moved in. "Is this for me?" she asked. Her voice was careful, like she was afraid the answer might be no. "It's for whoever needs it. Happens to be you right now." Lily walked into the room slowly, running her hand along the wall. She sat on the edge of the bed and bounced once, testing it. Then she looked up at him with those pale blue eyes, and Cole saw something in them that nearly broke him open. Hope. Real, unguarded, terrified hope. The kind that only shows up when you've been hurt so many times that wanting something good feels like standing on the edge of a cliff. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me. Thank the dollar store. Those sheets were $3. She laughed. A real laugh, bright and sudden, and it echoed through the empty apartment like a bell. Cole turned and went back downstairs before she could see his face. Because Cole Brannon did not cry. Had not cried since he was 14 years old. And he was not about to start now, just because a kid with her mother's eyes laughed in a room he'd cleaned for her. But his eyes were burning when he reached the bottom of the stairs, and he had to stand in the garage for a full minute with his hands pressed against the workbench before he trusted himself to move. The letter changed everything. It was a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after Lily had walked into his life. She was at school. He'd enrolled her at the local middle school under his address, telling them he was her uncle, which was a lie that would catch up with him eventually. But not today. He was cleaning out the old filing cabinet, something he'd been putting off for years, when his fingers found the envelope. Yellowed paper, his name on the front, in handwriting he recognized instantly. Jenna's. His hands went cold. He pulled the envelope out slowly, like it might bite him, and stared at it. It had been here the whole time. 10 years, sitting in a drawer, waiting. He went outside. He needed air for this. Leaned against the wall, tore the envelope open carefully, and unfolded the letter. The first lines hit him like a truck. "Dear Cole, by the time you read this, Lily and I will be far away. I can't thank you enough for what you did for us that night." His eyes moved faster. There's something I need to tell you. Something I couldn't say when we met. Lily's father is a man named Victor Hale. He's not just another angry ex. He's connected to people who hurt others for money. People who make problems disappear. He doesn't know Lily exists. That's the only thing keeping us alive. Cole's hands were shaking. He kept reading. I'm writing this because I need someone else to know the truth. If anything ever happens to me, if Lily ever finds her way back to you, she needs to know what she's up against. But protect her from this truth as long as you can. She deserves a normal life. The letter ended with two words that carved themselves into Cole's chest. Eternal gratitude. He read it again, and a third time. Each pass made it worse. Victor Hale. Organized crime. A man who didn't know he had a daughter. A man who, if he found out... Cole looked through the garage window. Lily's backpack was sitting on the workbench where she'd left it that morning. Her notebook was open to a page of sketches. Her mug, the one with the chipped handle that she'd claimed as hers, sat beside it, still stained with milky coffee. 3 weeks ago, he'd let a girl stay in his garage because he couldn't turn her away. Now he was standing outside holding a dead woman's letter that told him the girl was in danger. Real danger. The kind that didn't go away. The kind that followed you. He folded the letter and put it in his pocket. Then he went inside and called a number he hadn't used in a long time. Mickey, it's Cole. Silence on the other end. Then, Cole Brannon. Thought you were dead. Not yet. I need a favor. Depends on the favor. Victor Hale. What do you know about him? The silence this time was different. Heavier. Why are you asking about Victor Hale? Because his daughter is living with me, and she doesn't know it yet. Mickey exhaled hard. Brother, you just stepped into something ugly. Victor got out of Marion 3 months ago. Assault and weapons. Did 7 years of a 12-year sentence. Good behavior. He spat the words. Since he got out, he's been making rounds, reconnecting, asking questions. Questions about what? About a woman named Jenna Hollis. Cole's blood turned to ice. He's looking for Jenna? Was looking. Word came down last week that she's dead. Cancer. And now he's asking different questions. Now he's asking if she had any kids. Mickey paused. Cole, this guy is bad news. Not barroom brawl bad news. The other kind. The permanent kind. If he finds out about that girl, he won't. You sure about that? Because a kid showing up at an ex-Hells Angels garage 3 weeks ago doesn't exactly stay quiet in a neighborhood like yours. People talk, Cole. They always talk. Cole's jaw tightened until his teeth ached. Mickey was right. Lily walking into his garage hadn't been invisible. Mrs. Rodriguez had seen her. Jimmy at the pawn shop had seen her. The waitress at the diner had seen them having breakfast together. Any one of those people could mention it to the wrong person, who could mention it to another wrong person, who could mention it to someone with a connection to Victor Hale. A trail. Lily had left a trail just by existing. What else do you know? Cole asked. He hired a PI, guy named Harrison, ex-cop, works dirty, finds people who don't want to be found. If Harrison's on this, you've got days, maybe a week before he puts it together. Cole hung up and stood in the middle of his garage, the phone gripped so tight in his hand that the case cracked. Days. He had days. The girl he'd sworn to protect was in danger, and the danger was moving toward her with the precision of a man who got paid to be precise. He made 2 more calls, one to Cutter, asking him to watch the street, one to Roach, asking him to find out everything he could about Harrison. Where he was, how close he was, what he already knew. Then he sat down and waited for Lily to come home from school. She walked through the door at 3:15, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her face flushed from the walk. "I got an A on my science test," she said, dropping her bag on the workbench. "Miss Watkins said my diagram of an engine was the most detailed she'd ever seen from a sixth grader." "That's great, kid." She studied him. The smile faded. "What's wrong?" "Sit down." "That's never good. Nobody says sit down before good news." "Lily, sit down." She sat on the stool, her feet swinging, her hands gripping the edges. Cole pulled up the other stool and faced her. He could feel the letter in his pocket like it was made of lead. "I found something today. A letter your mom wrote. She left it here 10 years ago." Lily's eyes widened. "Mom wrote you a letter?" "She wrote it the week after I helped her. She must have come back to the garage when I wasn't here and slipped it into the filing cabinet." He pulled the letter out, but didn't hand it to her. Not yet. "There are things in it you need to know. Things about your father." The word father landed like a stone. Lily's face went still. Not blank. Still. The way a pond goes still before a storm. "My mom never talked about him." "I know. She had a reason." Cole took a breath. "His name is Victor Hale. He's dangerous, Lily. Not just mean or angry. Connected. To people who—" "I know what connected means." Her voice was flat. Older than 11. "Is he looking for me?" Cole hadn't expected that. He'd expected tears, maybe panic, the kind of reaction a kid was supposed to have. Instead, she sat on that stool with her hands perfectly still and asked the one question that mattered most. "Yes," he said. "He is." Lily nodded once. Slow. Like she was confirming something she'd suspected her whole life. "Mom always had a bag packed by the door. I thought it was just something she did, like a habit." But it wasn't a habit, was it? No. She was always ready to run. "Yeah." Lily looked at her hands. They were trembling now, just slightly. The first crack in the armor she'd built so carefully. "Is that why we moved so much? Why I was never in the same school for more than a year? Why she always looked out the window before she opened the door?" "I think so. She was hiding me from him. She was protecting you." Lily's eyes filled. She blinked hard, fighting it. Her jaw set in that stubborn line that was so much Jenna, it made Cole's ribs ache. One tear escaped and ran down her cheek. She wiped it away fast, angry at herself for letting it through. "Can I read it?" she asked. Cole looked at the letter in his hand. Jenna's words. "Protect her from this truth, as long as you can." But Lily already knew. She'd lived inside this truth her whole life without anyone giving her the words for it. She deserved to see what her mother had written. He handed her the letter. Lily read it in silence. Her eyes moved across Jenna's handwriting, and Cole watched her face go through every emotion a face could hold. Surprise, fear, anger, grief, love. When she reached the end, she folded the letter carefully, exactly along the original creases, and held it against her chest. "She loved me so much," Lily said. Her voice broke on the last word. "More than anything." "And she trusted you." "Yeah." Lily looked up at him. The tears were falling freely now, but her voice was steady. "Then I trust you too. Whatever we need to do, I'm ready." Cole reached out and put his hand on her shoulder. She leaned into him, pressing her forehead against his arm, and he felt her whole body shake with the sobs she'd been holding back since the moment she walked into his garage 3 weeks ago. Maybe longer. Maybe since the day her mother died, and the world told her she was alone. "You're not alone anymore," Cole said quietly. "You hear me? Whatever comes through that door, whatever his name is, whatever he sends, it goes through me first." Lily's small hand gripped his shirt and held on like he was the only solid thing left in the world. And in that moment, Cole Brannon made a decision that had nothing to do with logic and everything to do with the kind of truth that lives in your bones. He would protect this girl. Not because of a promise to a dead woman, not because of guilt over a night 10 years ago, but because she was his to fight for, his to keep safe, his daughter in every way that blood could never measure. The phone in his pocket buzzed. A text from Roach, 2 words long. "He's close." Cole read it, deleted it, and tightened his arm around Lily. Outside, the evening was getting dark, and somewhere in that darkness, a man they'd never met was getting closer with every passing hour. But Cole Brannon had stopped running a long time ago, and he wasn't about to start again now. Cole's phone buzzed at 6 in the morning. He was already awake, hadn't slept more than 2 hours. The name on the screen was one he hadn't seen in 3 years. Jake Mercer, former Hells Angels road captain, the kind of man who only called when something was on fire. Cole stepped outside the garage, pulling the door shut behind him so Lily wouldn't hear. "Talk," Cole said. "You need to listen to me carefully," Jake said. His voice was low, tight, the way it got when things were bad. "Victor Hale hired a private investigator. Name's Harrison. Ex-cop, real sharp. The kind of guy who finds people who don't want to be found." Cole's stomach dropped. "How close?" "Close enough that I'm calling you at 6 in the morning, brother. Harrison's been working the East Side for a week, asking about a blonde woman with a kid, showing old photos of Jenna at every bar and gas station between here and Garfield Street. Word is he's already narrowed it down to your neighborhood." Cole pressed his back against the wall. His free hand curled into a fist so tight his knuckles popped. "How long do I have?" "Days, maybe less. This guy doesn't mess around. And Cole, Victor's not just looking for information. He's looking for the girl. He found out about her somehow. Don't ask me how. But he knows he has a daughter, and he's obsessed." The line went quiet for a second. Then Jake said, "What are you going to do?" Cole looked through the window at Lily. She was sitting on the workbench, her legs swinging, reading one of the motorcycle magazines he kept stacked in the corner. She looked peaceful. She looked like a kid. "Whatever I have to," Cole said. He hung up and stood there for a full minute, breathing, thinking, running the angles the way he used to when a run went sideways and there was no good exit. Then he went back inside. "Hey, kid, put the magazine down. We need to talk." Lily looked up. She read his face instantly. She was getting better at that, better than he wanted her to be, and the magazine slid from her hands. "What happened?" "Your father hired somebody to find you, a professional. He's already in the neighborhood asking questions." The color drained from Lily's face. "How did he know about me? Mom said he never—" "I don't know how, but he knows. And he's coming." Lily's hands gripped the edge of the workbench. "What do we do?" Cole had already started moving. He pulled the old duffel bag from under the bench and tossed it onto the cot. "We leave, tonight. I've got a friend up north. Owns a cabin in the mountains. Nobody knows about it except people I'd trust with my life." "Leave?" Lily's voice cracked. "But the garage. Everything we—" "The garage will be here when we get back. You won't be if we stay." The words landed hard. Lily flinched, but she didn't argue. She'd learned enough about danger from her mother to know when it was real.
Pack light, Cole said. Only what you need. We take the back roads. Cash only. No phones after we leave the city. Lily slid off the workbench and grabbed her backpack. She moved fast, efficient, no wasted motion. She'd done this before. Packed a bag in a hurry, left a place she'd just started calling home. The thought made Cole's chest burn. He made 3 calls while she packed. The first to Big Dex, who promised to watch the garage and keep his ears open. The second to Cutter, who said he'd put the word out that anyone helping Harrison would answer to the club. The third to a man named Roach, who Cole trusted more than anyone alive, asking him to dig into Victor Hale's movements and find out exactly how much time they had. Then Cole went to the safe, hidden behind a faded poster of a '72 Shovelhead. He pulled out cash, enough to last 2 weeks, and a set of documents he'd kept for emergencies. He shoved them into the duffel and zipped it shut.
"I'm ready," Lily said from behind him. Cole turned. She stood there with her backpack on, her mother's diary clutched against her chest, her chin up the way it always was. Brave. Too brave for an 11-year-old. "Let's go." They left before the neighborhood woke up. Cole's touring Harley was quieter than his other bikes, built for distance, not noise. Lily climbed on behind him, wrapped her arms around his waist, and pressed her face against his leather jacket. He could feel her shaking. "Hold on tight," he said. "I am." They rode. The first hour was city streets, back alleys, side roads, the kinds of routes Cole knew from decades of not wanting to be followed. Once they hit the highway heading north, he opened up the throttle and let the miles eat the fear. The engine hummed steady beneath them, and after a while he felt Lily's grip relax. Not much, but enough to tell him she was starting to trust the ride. They stopped for gas at a station so small it didn't even have a name on the sign. Cole paid cash, bought 2 bottles of water and a bag of beef jerky, and scanned every car in the lot before letting Lily off the bike. "You okay?" he asked. Lily stretched her legs, wincing. "My butt hurts." Cole almost laughed. Almost. "Welcome to long-distance riding." They pushed on. Hours blurred together. Small towns, empty stretches of road, the world shrinking to nothing but asphalt and sky. Cole checked his mirrors every 30 seconds, looking for a tail that wasn't there yet. By late afternoon, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled over at a rest stop and checked the message. It was from Roach. "Harrison hit the garage this morning. You're clean. But he's smart. He'll figure out you ran." Cole deleted the message and stared at the phone. Then he powered it off, pulled the SIM card, and dropped it in the trash can. "No more phone?" Lily asked, watching. "No more phone." "Does that mean they were close?" "It means I'm not giving them a chance to get closer." They made camp that night in a clearing Cole found off a dirt road, hidden by trees so thick the headlights couldn't reach it from the highway. He set up the tent while Lily gathered sticks for a fire. They worked without talking, falling into a rhythm that felt older than the days they'd known each other. The fire crackled between them. Lily sat with her knees pulled up, a granola bar in one hand, staring into the flames. The light danced across her face, and Cole could see the questions building behind her eyes. "Go ahead," he said. "Whatever you want to ask." "Were you scared?" she said. "When you saved me and Mom? That night? Were you scared?" "No." "Really?" "I was too drunk to be scared." He poked the fire. "That's the truth. I wish I could tell you I was some kind of hero who made a brave choice. But the truth is, I was 23 and full of whiskey, and I saw something wrong happening, and I moved before my brain could talk me out of it. But you still did it." "Yeah, I did." "Mom said that's what matters, not why you do the right thing, just that you do it." Cole stared at the fire for a long time. Your mom was smarter than me. She was smarter than everybody. Lily's voice got thick. She swallowed hard. I miss her so much it feels like there's a hole in my chest. Like somebody reached in and took something out and didn't put anything back. Cole didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. He just moved closer and put his arm around her shoulders, and she leaned into him. And they sat like that while the fire burned down to embers and the stars came out one by one overhead. Cole? Lily's voice was small. Yeah? Are we going to be okay? He tightened his arm around her. Yeah, kid. We're going to be okay. He didn't know if it was true, but he said it like he meant it, because that's what she needed to hear, and because somewhere between the garage and this fire, keeping her safe had become the only thing that mattered to him. They rode for 6 more days, through small towns with one traffic light, past farms that stretched to the horizon, along mountain roads where the air got thin and cold and tasted like pine. They ate at diners where nobody looked twice at a big man with a blonde kid. And they slept in campgrounds and cheap motels, where Cole always took the bed closest to the door. On the 4th day, they found a diner at a crossroads in the middle of nowhere. The kind of place with checkered curtains and a waitress who called everyone honey. Lily ordered chocolate chip pancakes and ate every bite. Cole had coffee and watched her. The way she smiled at the waitress. The way she tucked her napkin into her collar like Jenny used to do. She'd told him that once, and the detail had stayed with him. Can I ask you something? Lily said, pushing her empty plate aside. You always can. Did you ever have a family, like your own? Cole wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. No. Came close once. Long time ago. Didn't work out. Why not? Because I was the problem, Lily. I was angry and stupid, and I pushed people away before they could get close enough to hurt me. Spent 20 years doing that. But you didn't push me away. Cole looked at her. No, I didn't. Why? He thought about it, really thought about it, and the answer, when it came, was so simple it almost hurt. Because you walked into my garage looking for the best version of me, and I decided I wanted to be that person. Lily reached across the table and grabbed his hand. Her small fingers wrapped around his calloused ones, and she held on tight. Thank you, Dad. The word hit him like a thunderclap. His whole body went still. His breath caught somewhere between his lungs and his throat, and refused to move in either direction. Dad. She'd said it quiet, natural, like she'd been saying it her whole life, and was just now letting him hear. His eyes burned. He blinked hard, once, twice, and looked out the window because he didn't trust his face to hold together. Yeah, he managed. His voice was wrecked. Yeah, kid. You're welcome. They sat there in that little diner, holding hands across a sticky table, and the whole world felt different. Smaller. Warmer. Like maybe it had room in it for something good after all. They headed back on the 8th day. Roach had sent word through Big Dex. The PI had moved on, lost the trail somewhere north of the state line. Victor was still out there, still looking, but the immediate heat had cooled enough for them to come home. Cole didn't like it. Coming back meant being findable again. But Lily needed stability. School, routine, walls that didn't change every night. And the garage was the closest thing to home either of them had. The Harley rumbled into the driveway on a warm afternoon. Everything looked the same. Same cracked concrete, same dusty windows, same faded sign. Big Dex had kept the place spotless, which meant he'd had his wife do it, but Cole appreciated it either way. Lily jumped off the bike and ran her hand along the garage door. I miss this place. Me too, kid. They walked inside. The smell of oil and metal wrapped around them like an old blanket, and Lily went straight to the workbench, touching the tools like she was greeting old friends. Cole watched her and felt something settle in his chest. Not peace exactly, but something close to it. Something he hadn't felt in decades. It lasted 20 minutes. The sound of tires on gravel came fast and hard, not the slow roll of a customer pulling in. This was someone in a hurry, someone angry. Cole's body went rigid. He knew that sound. He'd heard it in the alley 10 years ago. The sound of violence coming to find you. Lily, he said. His voice was steel. Back room. Now. Lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you. She didn't ask why. She saw his face, and she ran. The door slammed behind her. The lock clicked. 2 seconds later, Victor Hale walked through the garage entrance. He was exactly what Cole expected. Tall, hard, with dark eyes that held nothing warm, and a jaw that looked like it had been carved from concrete. He was flanked by 3 men, big, rough, the kind who got paid to hurt people. "Where's my daughter?" Victor said. No greeting, no preamble, just those 4 words, dripping with ownership. Cole positioned himself between Victor and the back room. His feet were planted, his hands were loose at his sides. "She's not your daughter." "The hell she isn't. My blood, my kid. I've got rights." "You've got nothing. You lost your rights when you put Jenna in the hospital, when you made her so scared she spent 10 years running." Victor's face twisted. "You don't know anything about what happened between me and Jenna." "I know enough. I know she wrote a letter telling me exactly what kind of man you are. I know you're connected to people who destroy lives for money. And I know that if you take one more step toward that door, it'll be the last step you take today." Victor laughed. It was an ugly sound, empty and cold. Big talk from a washed-up biker playing house. He moved fast. The punch came straight at Cole's jaw, a sucker shot, no warning. Cole turned his head just enough to take it on the cheekbone instead. Pain exploded across the side of his face, but he'd taken worse. Much worse. Cole drove his fist into Victor's ribs. The man grunted, doubled slightly, and came back swinging. They crashed into the workbench. Tools scattered across the floor. One of Victor's men stepped forward, but Cole grabbed a tire iron and swung it in a wide arc that made all 3 of them back up. "This is between me and him," Cole growled. Victor charged again. They grappled, slamming into a bike frame, knocking it sideways. Victor got his hands around Cole's throat, squeezing. Cole's vision started to narrow. He brought his knee up hard into Victor's stomach, and the grip loosened just enough for Cole to break free and land an elbow across Victor's jaw. Blood sprayed from Victor's lip. He staggered, but didn't go down. His hand reached behind his back and came out holding a knife. Cole's eyes locked onto the blade. "You sure you want to do this?" "I want my kid." "She's not yours." Victor lunged. The knife sliced the air inches from Cole's chest. Cole caught his wrist, twisted, and slammed it against the edge of the workbench. The knife clattered to the floor. Victor screamed. Then the sound came. The most beautiful sound Cole had ever heard. Motorcycles. Not 1, not 2, half a dozen, maybe more. The thunder of Harleys rolling up the street, filling the air, shaking the walls. Victor's head snapped toward the entrance, and for the first time, Cole saw fear in those dead eyes. Big Dex came through the door first, filling the frame like a mountain. Cutter and Roach flanked him. Behind them, 4 more Hells Angels brothers, every one of them wearing the look that said, this conversation was over. Get off him, Big Dex said. His voice was quiet. That was the scariest thing about Big Dex. He never yelled. He never had to. Victor's men backed toward the wall. Victor himself stood bleeding, his broken wrist cradled against his chest, looking from face to face and doing the math. 4 against 8 wasn't math. It was a funeral. This isn't over, Victor spat. Yeah, it is. Cole wiped blood from his cheek. Roach, you make that call? Roach held up his phone. Cops are 2 minutes out. Victor's face went white. You called the outstanding warrants, Victor. Assault, weapons charges, violation of parole. Cole stepped forward until he was close enough to smell the man's sweat. You're done. You come near Lily again, you even think her name, and every man in this room will make toward the back room. But Big Dex caught toward the back room. But Big Dex caught him with one massive arm and slammed him against the wall like he weighed nothing. Don't, Big Dex said. The police came through the door 30 seconds later. They cuffed Victor on the floor while he screamed about his rights, about his daughter, about lawyers and lawsuits. Nobody listened. His 3 men scattered the moment the sirens started. Rats from a sinking ship. Cole stood in the middle of his wrecked garage, breathing hard, blood running from a cut above his eye, his ribs screaming, and watched the officers drag Victor Hale into the back of a cruiser. The lights painted the walls red and blue, like the world's ugliest heartbeat. The cruiser pulled away. The sirens faded. Silence rushed in to fill the space. Lily, Cole called out. His voice was hoarse. It's safe. The lock clicked. The door opened slowly. Lily stood there, her face wet with tears, her body shaking. She looked at Cole, at the blood on his face, the bruises already forming, the wrecked shop around him, and her expression broke into something that was half terror and half overwhelming love. She ran to him, slammed into his chest so hard he winced from the pain in his ribs. Her arms locked around his waist, and she buried her face in his shirt, sobbing. You stayed, she cried. You didn't leave. You stayed. Cole wrapped his arms around her and held on. His hands were shaking. His eyes were burning. His throat was so tight he could barely breathe. I'll always stay, he said. Always. Big Dex put a hand on Cole's shoulder and squeezed once. No words needed. The brothers filed out quietly, one by one, giving them space. Roach was the last to leave. He paused at the door, looked back at Cole holding Lily in the middle of the ruined garage, and nodded once. Family. The word had never meant much to Cole Brannon, but standing there, bleeding and broken, and holding a girl who had chosen him, who had walked across a city to find him, who had ridden across a state to stay with him, who had called him Dad in a roadside diner and meant it with every piece of her heart. He finally understood what it meant. It meant this, exactly this. And he would burn the world down before he let anyone take it from him. The bruises on Cole's face turned purple, then yellow, then faded to shadows that only showed in certain light. His ribs healed slower, 3 weeks before he could take a full breath without wincing, 6 weeks before he stopped reaching for his side every time he bent over an engine. But the bruises inside, the ones nobody could see, those healed in a way Cole hadn't expected. They healed because every morning, Lily was there. She never mentioned the fight, not directly, but Cole noticed things. She started checking the garage door lock twice before bed. She kept her backpack packed and ready by the cot, even though she hadn't needed to run in weeks. And every time a car pulled into the gravel lot too fast, her whole body went rigid, her eyes snapping to Cole's face for a signal. He hated that. Hated that an 11-year-old had reflexes built for danger. Hated that she knew what fear sounded like when it rolled up on 4 tires. But she was still here. That counted for something. That counted for everything. "Dad," Lily's voice pulled him out of his thoughts. She was standing at the workbench, holding up a carburetor, grease smudged across her left cheek. "This one's shot, right? The float valve is corroded." Cole walked over and took it from her, turned it in his hands. She was right. The valve was beyond saving. He'd have missed that detail himself at her age. "Good eye. Where'd you learn about float valves?" "You told me. Tuesday, when we were working on the Sportster." She crossed her arms. "You don't remember?" "I remember. Just testing you." "Sure you were." He almost smiled. She'd started giving him attitude in the last couple weeks. Not the angry kind, but the comfortable kind. The kind that meant she felt safe enough to push back. Cole didn't mind. He'd take her attitude over her silence any day. The phone rang. Cole looked at the number. It was Helen Torres, the social worker assigned to Lily's case. "Developments regarding Lily's custody situation. I'd rather discuss it in person." Cole's grip tightened on the phone. "Good developments or bad developments?" Helen paused. "Just be here at 9. And Mr. Brannon, come alone. Lily should be in school." The line went dead. Cole stared at the phone for a long moment, then slid it into his pocket. Lily was watching him from the workbench. She'd stopped working the moment the phone rang, her hands frozen mid-motion, reading him the way she always did. "Who was that?" "Social worker. Routine stuff." "You're lying. Your jaw does this thing when you lie. It goes tight on the left side." Cole touched his jaw. "It does not." "It just did it again." He let out a breath. This kid was going to be the death of him. "Fine. The social worker wants to meet tomorrow. Something about your custody." Lily set down the wrench. Her hands were steady, but her voice wasn't. "Are they taking me away?" "Nobody's taking you anywhere." "You don't know that." "Lily, look at me." He waited until her eyes met his. "Nobody is taking you anywhere. Not the social worker, not a judge, not anybody. You understand?" She nodded, but the fear didn't leave her face. It just went underground, the way it always did with her. Pushed down deep where she thought nobody could see it. But Cole could see it. He always could. He showed up at Helen Torres's office at 8:50. The building smelled like old carpet and burnt coffee, and the waiting room was full of people who looked like they'd been waiting their whole lives. Cole sat in a plastic chair that was too small for him, his knee bouncing, his fists opening and closing on his thighs. Helen called him in at 9 sharp. She was a small woman with kind eyes and the sort of tiredness that came from caring too much about a job that never let you win. Her desk was buried in files, and she gestured for Cole to sit in the chair across from her. "I'll get straight to it," she said. "Victor Hale's attorney filed a custody petition 3 days ago." The words landed like a grenade. Cole's body went still, but inside, everything detonated. "He's in jail." "He posted bail yesterday morning." "Bail? For what he did? He came to my garage with 3 men and a knife." "The assault charges were reduced. His lawyer argued self-defense. The weapons charge is still pending, but the judge granted bail with conditions." Helen folded her hands on the desk. "I'm not going to sugarcoat this, Mr. Brannon. He has biological rights. Under the law, a biological father has a presumptive claim to custody, especially when the mother is deceased and the child is in an informal placement." "Informal placement. That's what you're calling this?" "You have no legal guardianship, no foster care license, and no formal custody arrangement. In the eyes of the court, Lily is a ward of the state, currently residing with an unrelated adult male with a criminal record." Cole felt the floor shift under him. He'd known this was coming. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he'd known that the system wouldn't just let him keep her because it felt right. But hearing it laid out in those cold, bureaucratic terms made his blood run hot. "That man is dangerous," Cole said. His voice was low, controlled, but Helen could hear the fury underneath. Jenna spent 10 years hiding from him. She wrote a letter, I have it, explaining exactly what he is, what he's connected to, what he'd do if he found Lily. "I've read the letter, and I believe you. But a letter from a deceased mother isn't enough to terminate parental rights. We need documented evidence of abuse, criminal conviction specifically related to the child, or a finding of unfitness by the court." "He attacked me in my own garage." "Against you, not against Lily. His lawyer will argue he was a desperate father trying to recover his child from an unfit guardian." Helen leaned forward. "Mr. Brannon, I'm on your side. I've seen enough to know that Lily is safer with you than anywhere else. But the law doesn't run on feelings. It runs on paperwork. And right now, you don't have enough of it." Cole's hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against his thighs. "So what do I do?" "You file for legal guardianship. Today. You get a lawyer. A good one, not a public defender. And you build a case. Character witnesses, stability reports, Lily's school records, evidence of a safe and nurturing home. And you do it fast, because Victor's petition goes before a judge in 30 days. 30 days. That's all you have." Cole stood up so fast, the chair scraped backward. He paced the small office, running his hand through his hair. 30 days to fight a legal battle he couldn't afford, against a man with a lawyer and biological rights, and a system that was designed to hand kids over to blood relatives regardless of whether those relatives deserved them. "One more thing," Helen said. "The court will likely order a home inspection. If they find Lily living in a garage, she's not living in a garage. She's got a room upstairs. Is it furnished? Does she have her own bed? A desk? Proper facilities?" Cole thought about the apartment above the shop. He'd done some work on it, cleaned it up, painted Lily's room blue, put in a second-hand bed frame. But it was still rough, still more garage than home. A court inspector would see exposed pipes and motorcycle parts in the hallway and draw exactly the wrong conclusion. "I'll fix it up," Cole said. "You have 30 days, Mr. Brannon. Make them count." He drove back to the garage with his mind on fire. When he walked through the door, Lily was supposed to be at school. But she was sitting on the workbench, her backpack beside her, her arms crossed. "You didn't go to school," he said. "I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about the meeting." She searched his face. "It's bad, isn't it?" Cole pulled up a stool and sat down across from her. He didn't want to tell her. Every instinct said to protect her, to shield her from this, to handle it himself. But Lily had been lied to by enough adults. She deserved the truth. "Your father filed for custody. He's out on bail. We have 30 days before a judge decides." Lily's face went white. For a long, terrible moment, she didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Then something hardened behind her eyes, something fierce and ancient and too old for her years. "He can't have me," she said. "He won't." "Promise me." "I promise." "No." Lily slid off the workbench and stood directly in front of him, her small hands balled into fists. "Don't just say it, mean it. Because if they give me to him, I'll run. I'll disappear and nobody will ever find me. I'd rather live on the street than live with that man." The conviction in her voice terrified Cole, not because he doubted her, but because he believed her completely. This was a girl who had walked 6 miles alone to find a stranger. A girl who had ridden across a state on the back of a motorcycle without complaint. If the system failed her, she would vanish, and the world would swallow her whole. "Listen to me," Cole said. He put his hands on her shoulders and held her gaze. "We are going to fight this. Not by running, not by hiding. We're going to fight it the right way, with lawyers and paperwork and every person who knows you standing up in that courtroom and telling a judge what I already know. That you belong here, with me, in this garage. You understand?" Lily's lower lip trembled, just once. Then she set her jaw and nodded. "What do you need me to do?" she asked. "Go to school. Get good grades. Be the kid I know you are." He squeezed her shoulders. "Let me handle the rest." She grabbed her backpack and walked toward the door. Stopped. Turned around. "Cole?" "Yeah?" "I don't call you Cole anymore. I call you Dad. And I'm going to call you Dad in front of that judge, too." She walked out before he could respond, which was probably for the best, because Cole Brannon's throat had closed up entirely, and his eyes were doing something they hadn't done in 30 years. He got to work that same hour. First call was to Maria Salazar, a family attorney whose name he got from Mrs. Rodriguez at the diner. Maria had a reputation for fighting impossible cases, and winning most of them. She agreed to meet him that afternoon.
"I won't lie to you,"
Maria said, sitting across from him at a coffee shop 2 blocks from the courthouse. She was sharp, dark hair, direct eyes, the kind of woman who didn't waste words. "Victor Hale has biological rights, and in Kentucky, biological parents get the benefit of the doubt. Your criminal record doesn't help. I've been clean for years." "I know, and we'll use that. But the other side will bring up every charge, every arrest, every association. They'll paint you as a dangerous influence." "And Victor, the man with active weapons charges?" "His lawyer will argue rehabilitation. Father seeking redemption, wants to know his daughter. It plays well in family court." Maria opened her notebook. "Here's what I need from you. Character witnesses, as many as possible. Employers, neighbors, anyone who can speak to your stability and your relationship with Lily. School records showing she's thriving. Documentation of the home environment. And most importantly, I need Lily's own testimony about what she wants." "She's 11. "Old enough for the court to consider her preference. Not old enough for it to be the deciding factor. But it matters." Maria looked at him hard. "This is going to be a fight, Cole. A real one. Not the kind you're used to. No fists. No backup from your biker friends. Just paperwork and patience and the hope that the system works the way it's supposed to." "And if it doesn't?" Maria didn't answer right away. "Then we appeal, and we keep fighting until it does." Cole threw himself into the battle with everything he had. He worked on the apartment every night after the garage closed, sanding floors, patching walls, installing new fixtures in the bathroom. Big Deck showed up one evening without being asked and started painting the kitchen. Cutter came the next night with a truck full of second-hand furniture, a proper dining table, a bookshelf, a desk for Lily's room. Roach brought a rug and a set of curtains his wife had picked out. "You don't have to do this," Cole told them. "Shut up and hold the ladder," Big Deck said. Mrs. Rodriguez organized the character witnesses. She went door to door through the neighborhood, collecting signed statements from everyone who had seen Cole with Lily. The owner of the diner, the mechanic at the auto parts store, the woman who ran the laundromat. Even old Jimmy from the pawn shop, who barely talked to anyone, wrote a letter saying Cole Brannon was the most decent man on the block. Lily's teacher, Ms. Watkins, called Cole one evening. "I wanted you to know," she said, "that Lily is one of the brightest students I've ever had. When she first arrived, she wouldn't talk to anyone. Sat in the back, kept her head down. But over the last few weeks, she's opened up. She's making friends. She's raising her hand in class. Last week, she stayed after school to help me organize the science lab, and she told me—"
Ms. Watkins paused. "She told me that her dad taught her how things work, that he showed her how engines are like puzzles. She talks about you constantly, Mr. Brannon." Cole pressed the phone against his ear and closed his eyes. "Thank you. I'll testify. Anything you need." The 30 days flew. Cole barely slept. When he wasn't working on the apartment, he was gathering documents, meeting with Maria, prepping for the hearing. Lily went to school every day, came home every afternoon, and worked on the bikes alongside him every evening. She didn't talk about the hearing much. She didn't need to. They both knew what was coming. 3 days before the court date, Cole drove to the cemetery. He hadn't been since they'd come back from the road trip, and the guilt of that had been eating at him. He brought white daisies, Jenna's favorite, according to Lily, and set them in the small vase by the headstone. "Hey, Jenna," he said. His voice cracked on her name. "I know it's been a while." He knelt down, his knees pressing into the cold ground. "Your girl is something else. She's smart, and she's tough, and she's got your heart. Every bit of it." He ran his fingers across the stone. "I'm trying, Jenna. I'm trying to be what she needs. I don't always know what I'm doing. Most of the time I'm just guessing and hoping I don't screw it up." He paused. A breeze stirred the daisies. "There's a hearing in 3 days. Victor's trying to take her. I know you know that. I know you spent 10 years running from this exact thing." His jaw tightened. "I'm not running. I'm standing in that courtroom and I'm fighting for her with everything I've got. And I need you to know, whatever happens, she is loved. She is safe. She calls me Dad, Jenna. She calls me Dad, and I—" His voice broke. He pressed his fist against his mouth and breathed through it. "I never thought I'd be somebody's father. Never thought I deserved it. But she chose me. The way you chose to trust me that night. And I'm not going to let either of you down." He stood up, brushed off his knees, and touched the headstone one last time. "Rest easy, Jenna. I've got her." The morning of the hearing, Cole put on a white button-down shirt and his cleanest jeans. He looked in the mirror and barely recognized himself. The man staring back looked nervous, which was something Cole Brannon hadn't been in a very long time. Lily appeared in the doorway. She wore a simple blue dress that Mrs. Rodriguez had helped her pick out. Her hair was brushed smooth and pulled back with a clip. She looked older than 11 and younger than 11, all at the same time. "You look nice," she said. "You look nicer." "I'm scared." "Me too." "Really?" "Terrified." Lily walked over and took his hand. Her fingers were cold. "Whatever happens in there, I want you to know something." "What's that?" "You're already my dad. No judge can change that. No piece of paper can make it more true than it already is. Even if they—" Her voice broke. She squeezed his hand harder. "Even if the worst happens, you're my dad. You always will be." Cole knelt down so they were eye to eye. "The worst isn't going to happen. But yeah, kid, I'm your dad. Today, tomorrow, and every day after that. Court or no court." They walked out of the garage together, side by side, into the hard morning light. Big Dex was waiting in the parking lot with his truck, wearing a suit that looked like it had been bought for a funeral 20 years ago. Cutter stood beside him in a clean shirt, his hair combed for maybe the first time in Cole's memory. Roach sat in the truck bed, legs dangling, holding a folder full of documents. "Ready, brother?" Big Dex asked. Cole looked at Lily. Lily looked at him. She squeezed his hand one more time. "Ready," Cole said. They drove to the courthouse in silence.
every heartbeat counting down toward the moment that would decide everything.
The courthouse hallway smelled like floor wax and anxiety. Cole sat on a wooden bench outside courtroom 4B with Lily beside him, their shoulders touching. Neither of them spoke. Lily's hand rested on his arm, her fingers gripping the fabric of his shirt sleeve the way she gripped her backpack straps that first day in the garage. Behind them, Big Dex, Cutter, and Roach stood against the wall like a silent wall of leather and loyalty. Mrs. Rodriguez sat nearby, clutching her purse with both hands, her lips moving in a quiet prayer. Maria Salazar came around the corner, heels clicking fast. Her face was tight. She crouched in front of Cole and spoke low. "Victor's here. His lawyer filed a last-minute motion. They're claiming you've been psychologically manipulating Lily, coaching her testimony." Cole's blood went cold. "That's a lie." "I know it is, but the judge has to hear it. They're going to try to discredit everything Lily says on the stand." Maria looked at Lily. "Honey, are you still okay to speak today?" Lily's chin came up. That chin. The one that never dropped, no matter what the world threw at her. "Yes." "They're going to ask you hard questions. They might try to make you angry or confused. They might say things about Cole that aren't true. Can you handle that?" "I've handled worse." Maria nodded. She looked at Cole. "We're up in 10 minutes. The courtroom doors opened, and Cole saw Victor immediately. He was sitting at the opposite table in a suit that didn't fit right, his broken wrist still in a brace, his lawyer whispering in his ear. When Victor saw Lily walk in, his eyes locked onto her with an intensity that made Cole's skin crawl. It wasn't love in that look. It was ownership. Cole put his hand on Lily's back and guided her forward. She didn't look at Victor, not once. She kept her eyes straight ahead and sat down beside Maria with her hands folded in her lap. Judge Catherine Merrill entered. She was in her 60s, silver-haired, with a face that said she'd heard every lie ever told in a courtroom and had stopped being impressed decades ago. She reviewed the files, adjusted her glasses, and looked up. "This is a custody petition filed by Victor Hale regarding the minor child Lily Hollis. I've reviewed the motions from both parties. We'll hear from the petitioner first." Victor's lawyer stood. His name was Brent Kessler. Slick, expensive, the kind of attorney who made his living turning bad men into sympathetic fathers. He launched into his argument with practiced ease. Victor was a changed man. Victor had served his time. Victor had a biological right to know his daughter. Victor had been denied that right by a mother who'd fled without cause, and now by a man with a documented criminal history and gang affiliations who had no legal standing. Cole sat rigid, his fists clenched under the table, as Kessler painted him as a dangerous influence, an ex-biker with assault charges, no parenting experience, and a garage that doubled as a home for an impressionable young girl. Every word was designed to cut, and every word landed. Then Kessler called Victor to the stand. Victor played his part well. His voice cracked at the right moments. He spoke about missing his daughter, about wanting a second chance, about the years he'd lost. He never mentioned the knife, never mentioned the 3 men he'd brought to the garage, never mentioned the terror in Lily's eyes. He made himself small and sorry and human, and Cole wanted to throw up. "I just want to know my little girl," Victor said, looking directly at the judge. "Every father deserves that chance." Maria stood for cross-examination. She was calm, methodical, surgical. "Mr. Hale, you stated you want a relationship with your daughter. Is that correct?" "Yes, ma'am. Can you tell the court what color Lily's eyes are?" Victor blinked. "What?" "Her eyes. What color are they?" A pause. Too long. "Brown." "They're blue, Mr. Hale. Can you tell me what grade she's in?" Another pause.
5th? 6th. Can you tell me her birthday? Victor looked at his lawyer. Kessler's face was stone. Victor turned back. Jenna never told me. March 14th. Maria let the silence sit. You don't know her eye color, her grade, or her birthday. But you'd like this court to believe you're a devoted father? I was kept from her. You were incarcerated for aggravated assault and weapons possession. Before that, you hospitalized Jenna Hollis twice, documented in police reports from 2013 and 2014, both filed in this county. Maria held up the papers. Jenna didn't keep Lily from you out of spite, Mr. Hale. She kept Lily from you because she was afraid you'd kill them both. Kessler objected. The judge overruled. Maria continued. On October 3rd of this year, you entered Cole Brannon's garage, accompanied by 3 unidentified men. You assaulted Mr. Brannon and produced a knife. Is that correct? I was trying to see my daughter. With a knife, Mr. Hale? Victor's composure cracked. His jaw tightened. The man behind the suit flickered, angry, hard, dangerous. He had no right to keep her from me. Mr. Brannon didn't keep anyone from you. Lily found him on her own, after her mother's death, after 3 failed foster placements. She chose to be there. Maria paused. She chose him. Victor's lawyer called for a recess. The judge denied it. Maria called her witnesses. Mrs. Rodriguez spoke about Cole's transformation over the years, about the man who helped carry her groceries and fixed her car for free. Miss Watkins, Lily's teacher, testified that Lily had gone from silent and withdrawn to engaged and thriving in a matter of weeks. Helen Torres, the social worker, confirmed that every home inspection had shown a safe, stable, loving environment. Then Maria called Cole. He walked to the stand with his heart slamming against his ribs. He'd faced down armed men without flinching, but sitting in that witness chair with a judge's eyes on him felt like being skinned alive. Mr. Brannon, Maria said, can you tell the court how you met Lily? Cole spoke. He told them everything. The alley, Jenna, the baby, the 10 years of silence, and then the girl in the doorway, blonde hair, blue eyes, asking for help. He told them about teaching her to fix engines, about the pancakes at roadside diners, about the night she called him Dad for the first time, and he couldn't speak for 5 minutes afterward. I'm not a perfect man, Cole said. His voice was rough but steady. I've done things I'm not proud of. I've got a record, and I've got scars, and I've got a past that would make most people run. But I am telling you, I am telling this court, that there is nothing in this world I wouldn't do for that girl. She walked into my life, and she made me better. She made me want to be better. And every single day, I wake up trying to earn the right to be called her father. He looked at Lily. She was crying. Quiet tears running down her face, her jaw set, her chin up. She deserves to be safe, Cole said. She deserves to be loved, and she deserves to choose where she belongs. She chose me. I'm asking this court to let her keep that choice. The courtroom was silent. Judge Merrill's expression was unreadable. Then Maria said, Your Honor, we'd like to call Lily Hollis. Lily stood. She walked to the stand with steps that were too steady for an 11-year-old. She sat down, adjusted the microphone, and folded her hands the way Cole had taught her. Calm, controlled, ready. Kessler spoke first. Lily, has Mr. Brannon ever told you what to say in court today? No. Has he ever said negative things about your biological father? He told me the truth, that my father was dangerous and that my mother spent her whole life protecting me from him. That's not negative. That's a fact. Kessler shifted. Do you understand that Mr. Hale is your real father? Lily looked directly at Victor for the first time. Her gaze was steady, unflinching, and in it was every ounce of strength Jenna Hollis had ever carried. "He's not my real father," Lily said. "He's the man my mother ran from. A real father doesn't hurt the people he's supposed to love. A real father doesn't show up with a knife. A real father is the person who teaches you how things work and makes sure you eat breakfast and checks on you at night when he thinks you're sleeping." She turned to face the judge. "My mom died 3 months before I found Cole. I was in 3 foster homes. Nobody wanted me. Nobody stayed. I walked 6 miles by myself to find a man my mother told me about because she said he was the only good person who ever helped us." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "And she was right. He didn't have to let me in. He didn't have to feed me or teach me or protect me. He chose to. Every single day, he chose me. And I'm choosing him. That's what real family is. It's choosing each other." The courtroom was so quiet, Cole could hear his own heartbeat. Judge Merrill removed her glasses. She looked at Victor. She looked at Cole. She looked at Lily for a long time. "I've heard enough," the judge said. "I'm going to render my decision from the bench." Cole stopped breathing. "Mr. Hale, your petition for custody is denied. The evidence before this court demonstrates a clear pattern of violence, a complete absence of any parental relationship with the minor child, and the credible threat to her physical and emotional well-being. Your biological connection does not override this child's safety and welfare." Victor shot to his feet. "You can't do this. She's my blood." "Sit down, Mr. Hale, or I'll have you removed." The judge's voice was iron. Victor's lawyer pulled him back into his chair. "Furthermore," Judge Merrill continued, "I am granting temporary legal guardianship of Lily Hollis to Cole Brannon, effective immediately, with a recommendation to proceed with formal adoption. Mr. Brannon has demonstrated, through the testimony of multiple witnesses, through documented evidence, and most compellingly through the testimony of this remarkable young woman, that he is not only capable of providing a safe and loving home, but that he has already done so." She looked at Cole. "Mr. Brannon, this court doesn't often see what I saw here today. Take care of this girl." "Yes, ma'am," Cole said. His voice was barely above a whisper. "I will." The gavel came down. Lily launched out of the witness chair and ran straight into Cole's arms. He caught her, lifted her off the ground, and held her so tight that neither of them could breathe. She was sobbing, not the quiet, controlled tears she'd trained herself to cry, but the deep, shaking, uncontrollable sobs of a child who had finally been told she was allowed to stay. "We did it!" she cried into his neck. "Dad, we did it!" "Yeah, kid." Cole's voice broke wide open. Tears ran down his face, and he didn't care. He didn't care who saw. "We did it." Big Dex was crying. Cutter had turned away, his shoulders shaking. Roach blew his nose into a bandana. Mrs. Rodriguez had both hands raised to the ceiling, whispering, "Gracias, gracias, gracias." Ms. Watkins was hugging Helen Torres. Maria Salazar closed her briefcase and smiled the kind of smile that reminded her why she'd become a lawyer. Victor was led out a side door by his attorney, silent now. The fight finally drained from him. Cole watched him go and felt nothing. No anger, no triumph. Just relief so deep it went all the way to his bones. They signed the guardianship papers that afternoon. 2 weeks later, Maria filed the adoption petition. 6 weeks after that, they stood in the same courtroom, this time decorated with white Christmas lights that Big Dex's wife Sarah had strung up, because she insisted every family deserved a celebration. Lily wore the blue dress again. Cole wore the same white shirt, now with a tie that Lily had picked out, dark blue to match. Mrs. Rodriguez brought apple pie. Ms. Watkins brought flowers. The Hells Angels brothers came in clean shirts, their bikes parked in a gleaming row outside the courthouse like an honor guard. Judge Merrill, who had agreed to preside over the adoption, looked at the crowd filling her courtroom and shook her head with something close to wonder. "I've been doing this for 31 years," she said. "This is the first time I've had a motorcycle club attend an adoption hearing." Laughter rippled through the room. Even Cole cracked a smile. The ceremony was short. The judge read the order. Cole signed his name. Lily signed hers. And with 2 strokes of a pen, what their hearts had known for months became law. "By the power vested in me by the Commonwealth of Kentucky," Judge Merrill said, "I pronounce the adoption of Lily Hollis by Cole Brannon final and complete. Lily, you are now legally and forever his daughter." The courtroom erupted. Big Dex's voice boomed above everyone else. Cutter whistled so loud the bailiff winced. Roach started a chant of "Family, family, family," that the whole room picked up. Cole knelt down and looked at Lily. Her face was wet with tears, but she was smiling. The kind of smile that lights up a room. The kind that makes you believe the world might actually be good. "I love you, Dad," she said. "I love you too, kid. Always have, always will." He stood up and put his arm around her shoulder. They turned to face the room together, father and daughter, official and forever. Through the courtroom window, Cole could see the 2 motorcycles parked side by side in the lot. His old Harley and the smaller bike they'd rebuilt together, painted gleaming blue. Their first project. Their first promise. That evening, they sat on the front steps of the garage. The neighborhood was settling into dusk. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked. A car radio played something slow and old. The air smelled like cooling asphalt and Mrs. Rodriguez's pie, which they'd been eating all afternoon. Lily leaned against Cole's shoulder. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was slow and easy. The breathing of a child who finally, truly, believed she was home. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "Do you think Mom knows?" Cole looked up. One star had appeared in the darkening sky, bright and steady, like someone had placed it there on purpose. "Yeah," he said. "She knows." Lily smiled without opening her eyes. "Good." They sat there until the stars filled the sky. A man who had spent his whole life running, and a girl who had spent her whole life searching. Both of them finally still. Both of them finally found. Cole Brannon had been a lot of things in his life. A fighter, a loner, a man with too many scars and not enough reasons to keep going. But the only title that ever mattered, the only one he'd carry for the rest of his days, was the one an 11-year-old girl gave him in a roadside diner over chocolate chip pancakes. Dad. And that was enough. That was everything.